Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is brought to you by Genesis House and the Friends in Recovery community, a thriving network of individuals who are fighting back against the stigma of addiction and recovery. Join your hosts,
the Podfather, Jersey Ed,
as they break the silence and speak up about the real issues of addiction, treatment, and recovery. Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, here are your friends in recovery.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to friendsinrecoverypodcast.com. I am Mike Miles, the Podfather, and I'm here with the crew.
Jersey Ed. You got a crew now, Podfather. I'm Jersey Ed, and we actually got Skylar, what's your new name, Sky? We all have nicknames on this show, so we came up with what?
So it's looking like my alter ego is Queen Bee.
Queen Bee. I love it. It's a very prestigious name, Queen Bee.
That's right.
Don't mess with me.
The only reason we gave her that moniker is because she's smarter than both of us, so she is the queen.
She's prettier than both of us too, Podfather.
That's a given.
real quick, speaking of handsome gentlemen, we're going to have a guest, Josh Andrus, on with us in a couple minutes. He's an author. He's a man in recovery. Who knows? We're going to peel back that onion with Josh here in a minute. Podfather, I'm going to give out some phone numbers. If anybody wants to get a hold of us, you can call us at 617-379-1163 and tell Podfather how handsome he is, or how good his voice sounds. Yes. Or you can email us at help at friendsinrecoverypodcast.com. Also, just a reminder, Friends in Recovery online 12-step meetings is noon and 7 p.m. daily. That's Eastern Standard Time. So that's 7 days a week. And also, if you go to our Friends in Recovery community of support or Friends in Recovery podcast on Facebook, so you can get all that stuff there. We're on Facebook, Instagram,
iTunes,
whatever it is. Just go to all
the platforms.
Places. Yeah, exactly. So we got a pretty interesting guest here today, guys, and his name is Josh Andrus. And Josh is the founder. Josh Andrus is an addiction specialist, and right now they are directing their content and resources to promote the solution for kids that are still confused over the pandemic. Kids' lives, like everybody else's, has completely changed. They've seen people wearing masks, closed businesses, social distancing, all these elements that bring more and more confusion into their minds. One of the most recent books, Thriving During COVID and Beyond, is a timely and valuable asset to all families, since it helps kids normalize the experience of enduring this event. It reinforces their strengths, minimizes their stresses, and attempts to show kids that they can be the heroes of the generation when they adapt. Josh Andrus, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on. You guys have my audio coming through good, right?
Perfect. We got you. So I'm reading this, Josh, and what the hell does that have to do with recovery? Excuse my language. I know it's a kid's book and all that, and I know I wasn't supposed to say that, but
you're great. So the other books are completely related to recovery because it's a precursor for all addictions, and that's what I believe, media addiction, that we put in our kids' hands as early as their first pediatrician appointment. So that's really the key for all the focuses of the total of 8 books, and it's even built in and baked into this Thriving During COVID and Beyond. The other way that it has to do with recovery is the reframe of everything that we have going on is an opportunity to work the steps, but kids don't understand the steps necessarily, but to actually see things as blessings underneath the disadvantages so they don't slip into unhealthy coping patterns, and that's the short answer of how it relates to recovery.
Well, tell us about yourself. Tell us about how you got into this and recovery. This is the Addiction Podcast, and we'll talk about the book, absolutely. But we want to find out to give us a quick version of your life.
So the backdrop from my stories is that I grew up in a house of alcoholics, and some that were dry, some that never treated, some never did the step work, and some that were actually using the substance and without me knowing it. Up until about 16, I thought aftershave was what I was smelling. So I was pretty clueless. I'm pretty sheltered environment in Utah, so there wasn't understanding what that was about. And, I dabbled in some drugs and some alcohol going through high school, but when I hit college and then when I went in the military, I became a binge drinker, and then later, had some pretty strong patterns with it. Seeing my little sister one time and actually having to take her out of the gasoline that she was huffing, deeply impacted me. And I think for some ways, it kept me in a place of not wanting to lose control. Yet I still ended up with some addictions. I kind of find myself to be a collector of addictions. So I went from going dry or kind of just trying to work on myself with personal development, and started working in the field. I felt like a hypocrite if I was going to continue drinking and working with addicts and alcoholics. And this was about 2001. I started working with homeless veterans, and I didn't realize then, but I had cigarettes that were deeply impacting my relationships with my kid's mom and I. And so it doesn't sound so hardcore, but that's the rest of the story that comes up a little later on. I ended up going through the 12 steps to help me through that. And it was a spiritually based program. I started to work with a sponsor, and I did them. The problem is I got stuck where most people get stuck. And that was where step 4 hit. And I did the dry thing again. And I found myself not really working through my problems and issues. And so it came up in other areas. And so finally, about 3 or 4 years ago, I ended up going to, out of some concern, I ended up going to a pornography addiction program. Not a program, but a 12-step model. And that's when I got serious. I had somebody there that was reportedly he had done his steps very regularly. I'm a disciplined person coming out of the military, still work with the military. And so I was like, no, that's who I want to have take me through these steps. And my life hasn't been the same since. Fast forwarding from that, like I sat with him to do the 5th, 6th, and 7th step, and found and discovered that I was really more at home in an Al-Anon meeting. So there's a joke in Al-Anon that if you're around an alcoholic, you need an Al-Anon meeting. And so us that go to AA meetings, you basically are dealing with alcoholics. So and the truth is that for years I've been working in the field, and I don't think that I've been impaired, but I just don't think I've been as effective as now that I've been grounded in the recovery work that I've been working on. And so for me, go ahead. Sorry, I was.
No, I just want to say that's so poignant that you see that what you just said about being, just being able to function in a better capacity and be all you, as they say in the Marines, be all that you can be.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And some healthy awareness too of how the steps can help you, even if you're not in the 12-step fellowship of AA or NA.
Yeah, absolutely. Josh, talk a little bit about military. Did that have any effect on kind of this life that you brought in, that you're kind of went into? Because dysfunction runs in the military, no offense to all the military people, but also runs in our families. Dysfunction runs everywhere. And, I'm sure that played a little part of it also.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. It's a great parallel where if you come from an alcoholic home, you're likely to have an alcoholic chief or an alcoholic, supervisor, and it almost feels like you're back in that same dysfunctional chaos. So you nailed it. It's good job security for me over here, but at the same time, it's sad job security because it's a disease that's strong. And I rewrote. So as much as I'd say that I was disconnected from the 12 steps, I had even written a questionnaire for the first 7 chapters in the big book. And the nice thing is I could tie in with them with Bill W., being in the military and seeing that comparison with them so they could relate to that. So, that we've been using that for about 13 years now at our facility. But I think, like when you look at the dysfunction, when you look at the chaos of it, when you look at the hierarchical ways that dysfunctional families kind of operate or don't have good operating, then it is definitely one of those environments. One thing that I would say is that that sobriety and recovery to me is just as much like a growth process as the addiction is just completely an eroding of progressing, and it's as subtle on the eroding as sometimes it can be subtle on the growth as well. So I think I've always kind of stayed close to it, but I never really felt like I belonged, if that makes sense. So I was always a friend of the program, and referring to the program and teaching principles of the program, but I hadn't superimposed my own recovery into the program until I went to that one. I went there for lust reasons, and that's when I started to set my roots, and really that growth happened pretty rapidly. So,
well, it sounds like you found something that just fit and off to the races, as they say.
Josh, the Al-Anon and AA definitely go hand in hand, no doubt about it. I think everybody that's in AA should be in Al-Anon, but I mean, obviously it's a volunteer program. But talk a little bit about the pluses, because you're in both of the programs. You work in both the programs. I've been to a handful of Al-Anon meetings. I've not been. It sounds like you and a friend of ours who does SoberPod, Carl, he also does a lot of Al-Anon stuff too. How has that boost your recovery and kind of bring you to the next level? If it did, or if it didn't, or if you think, yeah, I don't know.
No, it did. Even in going to the pornography and lust program, it was because of early detection and that lack of wanting to lose control. And so what I was really out of control on is trying to do just that with my life, with my relationships, with my kids growing up. Like it was insane. It was total insanity. And so when I go to an Al-Anon meeting, I introduce myself as I'm Josh and I belong here.
Wow.
And I don't have any anonymity issues myself. It's kind of like the book says, my anonymity is for others. I have no problem telling people that the Al-Anon program will help you to figure out your relationships, like on levels that I never thought possible. So I can tell you that I feel I did a really good and in-depth run through the first time I did the 12 steps. Yet my capacity to do the 12 steps has only grown by leaps and bounds now that I've been in Al-Anon. Because really at the heart of when I went through, and I did the full on, 4-step, and it took a long time every single day for that. It felt like 3 or 4 months. Then broke down each one of the character defects, which made the later steps come easier. But the point is when I looked at that and the fear and so I guess the answer to your question is if anybody is still working through the anxiety in relationships, still working through reactivity, and still working through fear, just all those compounds were addressed for me when I got to the Al-Anon program. And so the experience, strength, and hope of the program is that, I ended up going through a divorce recently with, my kid's mom, who I won't get into her stuff, but there was addictions that were included in the home. My son found himself pretty hooked on her Percocet, and my other son overdosed on the Percocet and was luckily, just for the grace of God, was able to go in the ambulance. And that's the first day I ended up. It was one of those God things. I was at work. I was going through some of the problems at home. My friend here at work, he's like, dude, you need to get to Al-Anon. Like, you ever have those come to Jesus moments where somebody's like, dude, you need to this, like you need oxygen. And it was really strange. We had been separated. I was living in my 30-foot home, like motorhome on the property, because we had gotten to a place, right, like where our relationship was not good. And I came in the house and my son was acting a little bit strange. And I was like, what's going on? Oh, nothing. He took some medication. I said, what did he take? Oh, some Tylenol. I was like, well, what are we worried about? He took 6 or 7. I said, well, that's quite a bit. And she then tells me he took Percocet. And I thought, this is my then 10-year-old son, doesn't weigh over 100 pounds. And she's like, it's okay. I'm going to monitor. And I thought, you know what, this doesn't feel right. So let me call it poison control. And they said he needs to get to the ambulance immediately. It was at that point I had another God moment where I'm like, I could drive, she could sit in the back and monitor. I said, fuck it. I'm going to call up the ambulance and let her deal with crazy on her terms. And I'm going to go to a meeting, because that was what was on my mind. And it was the first time. And my daughter was out in the driveway with her friend. I still remember it was like yesterday. The PERT team that came over with the ambulance. I'm like, look, what do I do? I can't do any more. I've got her ammo box to keep the shit locked up. And she's like, well, nothing we can really do. Like, just keep an eye on it. I'm like, I knew something was wrong at that point, because there was no control of the chaos. And I looked up on the map, and my friends, who are only one of 2 people in the San Diego area at the time that I would allow to watch my daughter, bordered the same property of the church of the Al-Anon meeting that I was going to. And that for me was the beginning of the rest of the story.
Wow.
I had goosebumps the entire time you talked about that. That was like, if that's not a higher power, I don't know what is. That's building a conscious contact relationship with your higher power. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. Skylar, I know you have questions about all the step work that he's doing. Queen Bee, that's what we're calling.
I love like the literature and the steps and the spiritual principles and
does.
cracking into that. Like, you were saying something in the beginning and all I could say was welcome. Like you were not unique. Like I could hear myself in you, and that's what I love about the fellowship is the camaraderie and just the identification. Like we don't just have the same favorite color. We have some like real dark pain and secrets and things we've gone through that it's way deeper than a color or a genre of music. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we can relate on such a deep level. And that's always been my favorite part of the fellowship. Yeah.
I have never been welcomed just like that. I could just give you a hug across the internet. That was
I love it.
Well, you know what? I've been sober a long time, 34 years. I just celebrated my 34th year, and I've been to thousands of meetings. And let me just say this, listening to you speak, I didn't have goosebumps, but I certainly can relate. You're going to do wonder. You're a young man. I mean, you keep going, keep doing what you're doing. Well, you got a purpose. And you have a way of presenting yourself that's just, it's crystal clear.
Amazing. Yeah. Real quick, guys, we're going to take a break here in a minute. I do want to recap on a couple things. Josh Andreas not only works a 12-step program and pushes a 4th step, 5th and 6th, 7th and 8th step really, really hard. He decides to go to Al-Anon and do a program over there. I'm like, I just hearing this story, I'm like blowing my mind away. It's just like, that's a dedicated gentleman, Josh, and that's something you should be proud of because you're working 2 programs now. And that situation you just talked about with your child and your child's mom or your ex-wife just proved how the program works. Not only how long ago this was, but that's a perfect example. And if you're applying both of those programs throughout your life, you're doing pretty good. So,
and I can just say that, what I think everyone will agree with this. We're always working on ourselves. I don't care how long you've been sober, how long you've been off drugs, booze, sex, whatever. It doesn't matter. Gambling. We're always working on ourselves. We're not even close to perfection. It's just practice, and we keep going and trying, and just keep doing the same thing. It doesn't matter for me anyway. I can see that this is a lifelong journey. It's not something that you just do and it's over with.
Josh, real quick, we're going to take a break here now, and you have some books that you want to promote, and of course that's what we're all about doing.
I got questions too.
Yeah, Skylar's going to take this part of the interview over, and we're gonna come back right after this commercial break. Podfather,
Friends in Recovery Podcast.com. We'll be right back.
You're first to respond, first to put others' lives before your own. And in an emergency, you need a network that puts you first, that connects you to technology, to each other, and to other agencies. Built with and for first responders. FirstNet, the only congressionally authorized wireless network for first responders. Because putting you first is our job.
Since 1992, Genesis House has been helping real people heal from addiction on their private recovery campus in beautiful Palm Beach County, Florida. Their family-owned program is accredited by the Joint Commission and offers detox and dual diagnosis treatment in a comfortable and confidential setting. At Genesis House, they focus on treating the underlying causes of addiction. Their comprehensive approach includes psychiatric care, individual and small group therapy, trauma healing techniques, and holistic care including yoga, massage, and animal-assisted therapy. After treatment, their clients enjoy the lifelong support of a nationwide network of Genesis House alumni. Call Genesis House today at 1-800-737-0933 to speak with someone who understands. Visit them on the web at www.genesishouse.net. It's time to start your journey to a long and successful recovery.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Friends in Recovery Podcast.com. I am the Podfather, Mike Miles, and I'm here with my good friend
Jersey Egg, guys, and
our good friend.
And then Sky, the Queen Bee.
Queen Bee. We have a real good guest, guys, today, Josh Andreas. I'm real quick. I'm going to get back to him because I want him to finish a story that he was telling us And then we're going to go into his books. But, Podfather, but you know what time it is here on Friends in Recovery. It is Sober Pod time,
Or as
folks.
I call it, the gluteus maximus.
I'm gonna take my shirt off one day and show you guys my Sober Pod tattoo I got right now, right here next to my heart of Carl. Okay, guys. Carl, Ellen, and Steve and Chelsea over at Sober Pod. Matter of fact, Josh, they're right out of the San Diego area. Sober Pod. If you don't do, I don't know if you listen to them, but
I had heard you mention them on the other shows I was listening to. So
cool. Yeah. Cool. All right. Good. So Sober Pod guys, listen to our friends Carl, Ellen, and Steve and Chelsea. They do a wonderful show. To a lot of topics they talk about, a lot of cursing over there, or as Carl says, cussing. And but real quick, I want to say hello to Carl because Carl has been sick. He had the COVID, he had a lung operation, and he's come out of it all on the flip side, and he's doing really well. They last couple
hang in there, Carl.
Too. So yeah, Carl, keep pushing the good work and all that stuff. Real quick, I guess Josh, I was gonna go to Skylar, but Josh, finish that story about your son. What happened? You were telling us along the break. I'm guessing everybody's probably wondering, is he okay? What's going on? It's
Yeah, when you hear overdose, that's kind of like I'm on the edge of my seat. How is the kid, right? Like, so he ended up in the ambulance. That was the right call. Like, again, choose your recovery first, kind of a type of a gift there, right? And so he ends up in the ambulance and he ends up coding. So he ends up flatlining with, of course, paramedics there to be able to revive him. So just like with any opiates, he was able to be brought right back.
Good.
But had that not happened, had I just tried to do what I was always trying to do, and that's holding shit together and trying to keep the chaos at a minimum, bad results, and who knows? So, he ended up doing really well. He came out of treatment. He's got his own skateboard brand that he's pushing.
Wow.
And it was something he designed in the program. So I fired it off at La Jolla for his launch, just like soft launch, and these high school girls getting in pictures with him for Instagram, and he's like, Dad, best night ever. And he's like, Dad, it's interesting. And it's as part of the inspiration for the books, but it's like, I could be in a place like that I didn't want to be in. And from that, though, I could design this logo. And of course, I sent it over to my illustrator, clean it up, and he's got T-shirts, and he's doing some healthy things with his life. He's just, He's got that wise mind as a result of about a year of struggling. And so
cool. Yeah. Well, tell us the name of the skateboard thing. We're putting in the show notes. Get it out there. Come on. Everybody's wondering what that is. So
that's wonderful. So it's Mainwire clothing. So Mainwire, and it's really cool. I don't know if I have, I usually run around with his brand, but it's a M looking this way and a W looking the other way. And it looks almost like Deadpool's colors.
That's
and it's
cool.
Just like it's really, it's rad that he was able to put that together in such a state. So,
good. We'll put that in the show notes. We'll put if he has a website, obviously, and we'll do that too, and we'll put all that up. So we're going to talk about the books because that's why you're on here. We all do want to promote our kids' stuff too, but we also have to promote our stuff. And I know Skylar has a bunch of questions about the books, but you want to tell us a little bit about the books and what I read at the beginning. I know you gave us a little bit about that, but just kind of go into that a little bit.
You bet. So it's interesting because Braden is actually my son's name, and Olivia is my other daughter's name, and I have an older son named Kyler. But the inspiration for the books are Liv and Braden. So it's Gamer Gavin, and Braden knows he's Gavin, and Livestream Liv's adventures off their devices. And so I started writing this book. I was in a college class, but I started writing the books to begin with to start to address this addictive cycle. If I pull the DSM-5 out, I'm sitting directly across from it. Gaming addiction and media addiction parallels every single criteria for substance use disorder or addiction or alcoholism. It is to a T. And I've done that on a program before, a few journals as well, like where I go through all the criteria. The point here, though, is that as I intuitively kind of tuned in, what could I do for the community? What could I help with? And what's needed is just like with treatment, just like with going to a meeting, there's a needed pattern interruption. And that's what reading a book to a child is for screen time. You're pulling them offline and you're engaging with them empathetically, which is something that's going to to be ever more important right now. And you're also reading things, and a lot of it's dad's insights on how things were not done right. Like I use myself. The illustrator drew me kind of a little bit similar to someone looked like me. So it really helped me to pull in and see all my mistakes, and in a humorous way. And they all rhyme. The first two don't steal on Amazon, but the rest of them rhyme. And then I've also, when I was quarantined, I rewrote the first two as well, so they all rhyme and they're really there for overcoming video gaming and media addiction, because it's the gateway drug,
Yeah.
Yes.
What's the age range for that?
It's anything elementary school. So I've read to all, and even some 4 and 3-year-olds. I have coloring pages in the books if you buy them separately, and so they can color, but they all gain insight. So the first one, can we go hiking this weekend, is what they start to do. So it gets them off their devices, gets them doing something quality. I'm about to write one about board games, because right now, with everybody being like sheltered in, like, parents sometimes don't realize that going and teaching their kids gin rummy or getting on a Monopoly game, they get quality interaction, and that's really what they're looking for when they go to social media. And that's the point. Is what it's not just a kid's book. It's a family book. So how do we get quality time?
Well, what a great idea. I think of my own, when you just said that about board games, I was thinking of my relatives as a kid, from the 50s and 60s. And I mean, that was a big thing.
Parcheesi. He was talking about Parcheesi.
playing
Parcheesi and Sorry.
playing cards with my uncles. And, we were just kids and we'd play for nickels. They were adults and they'd keep our money. I mean, they thought you'd play, but they didn't give any breaks.
And it was a blast.
You know what's cool, Josh, is that when you're addressing the children and their screen time, it's pulling us away from Facebook and our screen time, because we're creatures of habit, and they're learning it from somewhere, and it's not just from other kids, it's from us too, because the times have changed. When the street lights comes on anymore, it's not like that.
Right.
And so you said you have 3 kids, right?
I do. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, like, you have that, and this is such a hot topic right now because it's pandemic. And it's funny because I recently just started something with my son, and during the day, it's really hard because I'm trying to work, and then I have internship and then school after work. And then I have him during the day, and he has auditory processing issues. So if he doesn't hear the video, how the teacher explains it in a manner that he understands, then mommy has to come in and re-explain it, because you can't replay the video and hear it different. So, but we started a new system, and it's like he has a schedule that he has to get done during the day to earn time on the screen. And it's 5 minutes for doing certain things, because he lost his Xbox for 2 weeks and he became a new person again. It was like my son back. And I realized how much of an effect. And even I'm in school for social work, and I think it's social psychology class. It talked about they become more helpful, interactive, and you're right. They're just looking for a relationship. But so it's still a new topic though, because you guys we're still learning. So for you to be able to write this book during this time, I mean, you had to probably do some research, or like, how did you kind of gather like your results and research about it?
Well, I was doing family studies at BYU at the time. And so this was where it was, it's always helpful for me, like, to have that initial, like, push me into a hobby or something like that has a structure. So I love what you had to say. So, like, moms right now, dads right now that are at home, they have a 7th job, like, well, for you, 7th job, a 3rd job for other people, right? And so what came for me is the research came out of a need. So one of the main stressors on our relationship is not being on the same page, and my kids got violent. And so there were, like, I was doing jujitsu like a year before, which was a blessing, like another God thing. And so the impact of them striking me, like, before I knew you're supposed to just call the police when somebody gets violent. I didn't know. I was just enabling everybody, right? Like, it came from that. And so I had just gotten to a place where, what is the solution here? We weren't going to get on the same page, but was there insight? Everything in my life today is reverse paranoia. What is this teaching me? If in my relationship with my girlfriend, if it's not going well, guess what? I'm going to take ownership and go do a growth process. I'm going to do a meditation. I'm going to turn back to my recovery. I'm going to see what I'm not getting right. Kind of a joke is they say, if you want to test your recovery, go get in a relationship. You'll see how well you're doing, right? Like, so that was the thing with this. This was what we were struggling with as a family. And so I thought, what can I learn and what has been working? And my kids love it. Like they're certain times they contribute to the book because we've gone through a growth process. And so that I'm up to 8 and we're doing a series of 12 with a new title that just came up with board games. That tells you that we learned a lot the hard way. So.
Absolutely.
That's so cool.
I know you have to run here. You have a couple other things going on, but Josh, I thank you so much. Just listening to you is just amazing. I'll be calling you later, see if you can be my future sponsor. I'm just kidding. I have a great sponsor, but I mean, here's how I'm going to sum you up and tell me if this is right. You're very militant. You're very structured, but you want to teach your kids. You want to teach the young folks in a fun way. So you're a structured, militant, fun, understanding, smart, bald, muscle guy. Yeah, I got that too. So us bald guys are allowed to say ball, right?
Well, you have this way to tap into your awareness and things that are going on. Like you tap into something that in the first part of the meeting it's just different. You can tap into this awareness and things that are going on and feelings of your children, like that empath, that piece that we can feel each other. You know what I mean? So that's a great gift.
Well, thank you. I think it's step 11 work. I give all the glory to God on that one. So it's conscious contact.
Yeah.
So I think that's fair, Ed. I think Jersey Ed. I think what I really enjoy is synthesizing the information, but programming something out so that most people think you can't be spontaneous when you have plans. No, the reason you have good plans is because you're disciplined, and then everything that's joyful fits within those frameworks. So that's maybe the way that I kind of end up finding that is, and then the other side is the recovery principle is once you have it, it's time to give it back to others. So,
and
Josh,
you can filter out a lot of things. You can filter out a lot of things as well, and that's the best part of recovery for me is I can see an opportunity that might be wonderful financially, but then I say, well, maybe that's not something I want to get involved in because it's really not on the up and up.
That has a very spiritual basis for me and what I'm doing with the books too. I've had I'm an opportunity seeker. I'm constantly on. I obsess just as much about that as about anything else. It was given to me in a meditation that I would not be able to leave my field of working with residential treatment patients until I was providing as much or more value for others. And at that point, then I would be released from the contract that I've had for 16 years at the current location. Wow. But it wasn't not until I was given as much or more value.
Good stuff.
Josh, great. Josh and Andreas, real quick, Josh, before we go, how can everybody contact you? You want to give out some information?
Yeah, so at Live and Gavin Adventure on Instagram. And then everybody can get 2 of our books for free at parentsovercomingelectronics.com. And then my
Skylar, write this down.
I got it.
All right.
I got it.
I need all this.
And the author page is amazon.com/author/Joshua Andrus. So, and by the way, I love that you use our Greek heritage is what I'm hearing with Andreas. And so
I was just going to say before I had one question, Tikanis Kala. I wasn't sure, I saw the name. I'm like, this boy's got to speak Greek, right?
Yeah, it's great.
God. Well, Josh, I know you have to run, but thank you so much. And we'll have all this information up on the show notes. Everybody can get a hold of you. One thing I do ask guests, well, you do give them away free, but is there a way I can get a set of your books? We do a contest every Friday, and I'd love to see if we can give away a set of your books.
I will sign a copy and send 4 out, 1 for each of you, and then 1 for.
Yes. All right.
Yeah, so this one right here has 4 books inside and the COVID one on the cover. So this is what I'm sending out to you.
We'll be pushing those books too. Believe me, we will.
I sure appreciate it. It hasn't gotten to the East Coast nearly enough, so I love you guys over there on the East.
Definitely.
Josh.
Thanks,
Josh. It was great meeting you.
Great meeting you.
All right,
thanks.
You too. Thanks for having me on.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, wow, amazing, huh?
At the very beginning, I wanted to ask him if he was Greek. I was going to hit him with the old Tikanis Kala out of stove.
You just made me hungry for a gyro.
I know.
A gyro, however you want to say it.
But what a great guy. Where the hell do you find these people?
Oh, man.
You know what, Queen Bee, you're going to see as we go along, and you probably know every show, a different guest, just as good. We've only had maybe 2 guests that were like marginal. I'm not saying they were bad, they weren't. They were just marginal. But this guy, this is a superstar. If
This
we give
guy
out
is,
awards,
yeah.
he's going to get he'll get the Podfather Award or something.
I
Jesus.
just started this mommy bucks thing with my son too, where, you know, you have to, and this is like so relevant to what I'm going through. And I'm like with my hair, pulling my hair out, like, what do I do? Like to get this kid, you know, on target. And we started like earning points. So it's like, it's just so on point. God, it works in mysterious ways.
About earning 5 minutes and stuff. And you know, that it's hard to do that because I'm the guy that I want to be the kid's friend too. You know, I want them to love me. So I always had a hard time with punishment.
Yes.
Yeah. This guy was unbelievable. I mean, just unbelievable. I could have won if he didn't have to go. I would have let this go on, right? I mean,
I know, because we didn't even get into the book too much, because like that's the research on that is so little right now. So the fact that they're able to do it, that's great. Like that's,
Skylar, you have all the show notes, you know, everything. We're gonna put that all in the show notes. We'll give that to Melissa. They'll put it all up. You know, I'm just blown away by him. Guys, what about the other thing too is where excuse me, Al-Anon and AA. I don't know a lot of people that do that, right? And this guy, it's not like,
I don't know.
Yeah, I know. It's not.
I was referred once because my brother was drinking, and like I only went like one time, and I'm like, you know.
Yeah. Because
right, it's like you don't stay.
We don't have time for 2 programs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
When you think of the results he's getting, wow, I might even check it out.
That's unbelievable. And guys, real quick, if you, I know I always say this real quick stuff, but I have to stop saying that. But if anybody out there goes to 2 programs, let us know. Give us an email at help@friendsinrecoverypodcast.com, help@friendsinrecoverypodcast.com. Email us and tell us how it's working for you, because Josh is unbelievable. I mean, just completely unbelievable that what's going on in his life. And he works those programs both really well. It's not like half-ass in here, half-ass in there.
It's like one program for himself, and then his relationships even said like, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. He's on the beam. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Queen Bee, what do you think of your new name?
I think it fits. Oh,
it fits.
I'm gonna grow into it. I think. I think I'm gonna fit the molding rather well.
Exactly.
I had to be revealed.
I had to grow into Jersey Ed, but the Podfather, he walked in that studio, boom, I'm Podfather. I'm this. The minute we started this, man,
I don't even know where it came from. It just popped into my head.
It did.
We talking about The Godfather. The series was on that weekend or something.
Yes. Yeah.
It was come on.
Remember I offered Dave from 2 Guys. I said to him, you can have because he sponsored our first. Well, he didn't sponsor; we paid him.
Yeah.
First 100 podcast. But, and he's just a great guy. And I'm like, Dave, why don't you? I'll bequeath this name to you. And he's like, no, that's your name. You keep that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
cool. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Skylar, I know how you feel, because when Podfather said we're going to name it Jersey Ed, I'm like, I don't know. It's like,
do I really like Jersey that much? You know, like
I love the name. Everybody calls me Jersey Ed. I know when somebody says Jersey Ed, I know they watch the show. It's really cool. And same thing with Podfather. When I get emails about him, you're going to see Queen Bee. You're going to see that you're going to have this following. You know, we're going to have this following as far as
Tony Robbins. Didn't he tell you the music to the human's ear is their own name being spoken by another?
Yeah,
you know, and it's true. And I've noticed real good salesmen, real good presenters. Well, and cops that are trying to elicit. I work with some detectives that was. You look at him, you would think the guy couldn't sell a mattress, you know? But you get him in a room with a killer or something. And I just real quick, Joe Murray was a local cop. He convicted a man of killing his 2 sons, drowning them and their mother. He had 2 families, putting them in a duffel bag and hanging them in his locker at Fort Devens.
Jesus.
And you know what? Joe Murray interviewed him, and I watched it through the double glass, and I'd just go down every 20 minutes or so. I'd stay for 20 minutes, come back. He had him in there for hours, and he got the confession.
Wow.
But, it was just amazing.
Yeah.
People that that can sell things like that. You know?
Yeah, you get personal with people and things start happening. So that's what you're gonna find with the name. So
Yes.
well, everybody, great show. Great guest. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And I know I say, well, we're gonna have you back on. I didn't even tell him that because in the back of my head, I know I want this guy back on the show, you know,
Yes,
maybe talking Alan on or something, you know. So
also, I think that it would be great for anybody like that is a mom or dad staying home right now with their kid. We'll put the stuff in the notes, but you could also reach out to him and send him feedback because it's a new topic, so we need more information to keep the research going to keep developing it. So if you guys have feedback for him, I'm sure that'd be great even too to help him keep growing his books and all.
Yeah, help at friendsandrecoverypodcast.com or all the show notes, everything will be in. And Podfather, they want to take us out.
Absolutely. Friends and Recovery Podcast.
.com. Stay safe. Stay sober, everybody. I was waiting for .com going on there. Stay sober, everybody.
All right. Have a good day.